What's going on, guys? This is Joe, and I am back with some more pre-release kit openings, specifically this time for Ravnica Allegiance. Obviously, we did our typical midnight open all 5 kits, or usually it's 4, but for Ravnica it's been 5 because 5 guilds. And we did that, and it was great. We got some awesome cards. But now I want to kind of slow down a bit and look into each of these kits individually. Check out what they can do and actually try to make decks with them. I have, you can see, one of each here, all 5. I'm going to go in alphabetical order because with no other reason for going in any particular order, I'll go in alphabetical and I'll start with Azorius. So we will move these other 4 off to the side. We will do those in future videos, so keep your eyes peeled. So we have the Azorius kit. And if you look on the back, if you were unable to get to a pre-release, Order, Authority, Control. That's Azorius. We've got Lavinia on the front, Ravnica Allegiance. I started it a bit just so that I wouldn't have to struggle with it, because God knows that happens sometimes, and that is embarrassing. Let's see what the Azorius kit has in store for us. Open it up. Let's zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better what we're working with here. First of all, we have the Azorius die. So first of all, a triangular guild symbol means that it fits perfectly within the confines of the triangles that make up the D20, or the outside faces of the D20. And it has the guild colors of the blue and the white. I don't know if it says it in the title or not because I haven't titled the video yet, but I will do that in the future. But I will be giving away a kit in this video, but you won't know when. So feel free to, hopefully you'll watch through the whole video. I have the packs here, and you see that you can kind of see it there, poking through, but that is the code. That will happen in a moment. But first we have our promo foil rare in Absorb. Really, really cool. Let's take it out of the packaging so it's a little bit easier to see, but thankfully we have, if I move the box out of the way so you guys can actually see it. First of all, if you didn't see it, if you care, this is the insert that you get in the box that you can put to separate your deck from your sideboard and things like that. So that truly, I mean, you know, if you open something big, you might want to have sleeves with you, but truly you shouldn't need anything to bring with you to a pre-release, especially for like new players. It's a nice event to have to not worry about what you have versus what you don't. So look at, oh my God, look at that foiling pattern on this Absorb. That is incredible. Everything on this soldier's armor, the actual magic itself, it looks incredible. That is really cool. And I am so glad that we have this lighting so that you guys can see that as good as you can. And obviously the guild symbol behind the text box as well. Plus it's a great card, so it's nice to have it in foil. We are looking as well, don't forget, at playability and what kind of a deck we're going to make. So this is the seeded pack. If you're unfamiliar with these kits, what they do is they give you a pack of just cards that you can use, that you can unquestioningly use in an Azorius deck, and then the other packs are just regular packs. So we start with an Azorius Locket after our Absorb. We have a high alert, so if we have defenders, if we have creatures with larger toughness than their attack, so for example, I'm thinking of like Concordia Pegasus and Senate Courier, the 1/3 and 1/4 respectively flyer creatures, this would make them essentially 3/3 and 4/4s. We have Junk Troller, speaking of high alert, interesting, not obviously exclusively Azorius. I think some of the kits have just been doing that there's like one artifact, which means you could play it in any guild. But this one, important following high alert. So this is a 6/6. Also, if you're Azorius, you're likely a control-y deck. So a lot of times you may be wanting to draw lots of cards. You may get down to the bottom of your deck. And with this, it helps ensure that you won't like deck out just from drawing one card a turn, because you could put a card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library, and if you have very few cards or no cards in your library, you can just put a card from your graveyard on top of your library, essentially. Plus, again, high toughness, and it can attack as a 6/6. Here is another defender in Wall of Lost Thoughts. So yes, another uncommon defender. This would attack as a 4/4 if we had high alert. Something to think about. Hazda Officer, when it enters the battlefield, it can give a creature +1/+1 till end of turn. That's not terrible. It's not amazing, but it is a 3-mana 3/2. The thing that sucks is that toughness, not just for High Alert, because I don't think High Alert's amazing, to be honest with you, but even so, if we play High Alert, this attacks. Does it say May? No, it just automatically does. So this would attack as a 2/2, not a 3/2. But it trades for stuff a lot smaller than it, which isn't amazing. We have Arrester's Admonition. I do like this card. It does have Addendum, which means it encourages you to play it on your main phase, but at least in more aggressive strategies, if you're splashing blue or if you're Simic, you're able to kind of play this and then swing in because you've bounced their main blocker. But it's a great bounce spell. Clear the Mind if you are trying for a mill strategy. I don't think we are, unless we open some crazy stuff. We have a Sage's Rose Savant. This card is good in any deck that's playing blue. It's just a 2/1, but you can scry 2 when it comes in, which is fantastic. What a great ability for some card advantage. Or to fix your draws, I should say. Here's that Senate Courier I was talking about. I've very rarely seen its Vigilance ability activated, but not never. It is relevant occasionally, but it's also a 1/4 flyer, again, if we're playing High Alert. But if not, it's a good blocker in the air. And every once in a while, if you can get in for 1 damage, if they don't have any flying blockers, that is also really helpful. We have an Impassioned Orator, 2/2, and you can gain life whenever another creature enters the battlefield. This is fine. It's a 2-mana 2/2. It's a bear with upside. And, gaining that 1 life every turn is not something you should bank on, but it's nice to kind of increase your life incrementally every once in a while. Usually, like, direct life gain cards are bad, but life gain on smaller cards like this is quite good. Watchful Giant, 6 mana, 3/6, and you get a 1/1 creature, a 1/1 human. I'm not a huge fan of this card. Again, with High Alert, it attacks as a 6/6, but I'm still not a huge fan. It's like super expensive for what is 4 power and 7 toughness. I'm just not super high on it. I could be wrong, and if you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. And Arrester's Zeal, this card I do like. This one is... I'm much less likely to cast this with Addendum. Usually I'll play this on blocks, or if I make a riskier attack and they buff up their creatures or something like that, that's when I've used this. So whereas with the bounce spell, I've used that most often in my main phase, this one I don't as much. That's just me personally. We have a Lawmage's Binding. I love this card very, very much. I always loved the original Arrest, which, if you're unfamiliar, is 2 generic and a white for this exact ability. It doesn't have flash, but it is an enchant creature, and it makes it unable to attack or block and can't activate its activated abilities. So this is just a second color, same mana cost, converted mana cost, and it has flash. So yeah, I love this card quite a lot. It's an amazing removal spell. They can like sack the creature to something later, but that's like a very corner case that I haven't really seen. So yeah, this card is fantastic. And an Azorius Guildgate, if we're splashing or if we're afraid of our mana base, that will help us fix our mana. So we have what I believe is Vanifer on the front of this pack. I could be wrong. I haven't memorized the cards in the set yet. But let's see what we get inside of this pack. We start very nicely with a Humongulus. So the cool thing about Humongulus is the hexproof, obviously. It's a 2/5, it blocks really well. Again, with High Alert, sure, if we're playing it. He attacks as a 5/5, but he's probably back for blocks, like really, really efficient blocks all the time. And if you can get any enchant creatures on him that buff him up or put buffs on him in general, he's a lot harder to deal with. So you can save your combat tricks for this guy. Be really nice. Another Impassioned Orator, very good. We have a Rubble Slinger, neither color that we are playing, but we could, if we get some good Simic cards, we can consider playing this. At least we could put it in our sideboard or something, because it's the hybrid mana cost. So if we have some Simic cards, the green would come into play if we are splashing green. We have a Sauriform Hybrid. So once again, same thing if we're splashing green, but otherwise this is a great green card if we ever get the opportunity to play it. Dead Revels. So the other thing that Azorius is good with splashing with or into is Orzhov. So white-black. So this is an option if we do that. With the seeded packs, it's a lot less necessary than in just regular sealed to have to go into 3 colors, but it is something to look at depending on what our rares and mythics in these regular packs do for us, or what direction they pull us in. Skewer the Critics, great card, probably not for this deck. Blade Brand, I'm not a huge fan of this card. I had somebody use it against me and it worked well for them in that moment, and it does draw the card back again for you. But I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of this particular effect. I would rather have like a creature or something like that. We have another Azorius Locket. That is very good. Azorius is one of the guilds that they don't care as much about being super aggressive, where you wouldn't want to be playing Lockets. Drawing cards with this is just fine. And now that we have 2 of them, that's good. And it helps, again, fix our mana, ramp us a little bit. So that's nice. We have a Rafter Demon. Again, fine card, not for this deck. Root Snare, not a fine card. Just don't. I'm not a huge fan. Ooh, Sphinx of New Prov, though, I am a huge fan of, especially in an Azorius kit. That is a very nice first uncommon for us in this pack. Very, very good. Double white, double blue, so hard to cast if you're not in the Azorius deck, but we look to be. We have a Gatebreaker Ram. We're probably not in the Gates deck because you only have 6. The Gates deck in Draft is probably a lot more viable, so we could try that at a later time. But, you know, maybe in our MTG Arena playthroughs or something. And a Resolute Watchdog. I like this card. I am not one of those people who... I love dogs, don't get me wrong, but I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, it's a dog, I'm never going to sacrifice it. That's what it exists for. So if we play it, first of all, with High Alert, we can attack with it as a 3/3, but if we want to sacrifice it to save one of our creatures in the late game, after playing it on turn 1 and blocking very favorably against things like Gruul, this card is very, very good, so I would probably play it. And our first rare or mythic out of the packs is a Smothering Tithe. Not... Again, if we're splashing, maybe. But it's not incredible for that. Every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, I could try this, and it never works out. That's just what I've noticed so far from playing in pre-releases. But Smothering Tithe is our rare enchantment. We can get treasure tokens whenever our opponent draws cards. Behind it, a Gruul Guildgate. So again, probably not great even if we're trying to splash stuff. And an Ooze token that you get from the green mythic Ooze. We have a Domri raid pack. Let's see what Domri has for us. Again, representing Gruul, which is not something that we'd like to play. But I would like to play this Sage's Rose Savant. Very, very good card. And a second one of these for us, which is nice. A Viscopa Vampire. Notice that's a hybrid mana symbol, so we absolutely could play that in this deck. I don't love that it has 1 toughness. There's a lot of hate for 1 toughness creatures, either damage dealing or like 1/1 flyers. But the nice one about this, like there's just the generic white, 1 and a white, 2/1, or 3/1, excuse me, that doesn't have lifelink. So at least with this one, if you're going to trade off for something, you gain 3 life in the process. So... We have a Gravelhide Goblin. Again, probably not for us. Sagittar's Volley. Again, this is a good card against us if we're going to have a lot of flyers. And if we're splashing into green, it's still probably a sideboard card at best. Undercity Scavenger, also known as the Hamburglar, thanks to Amy if you watched our stream that we did, our preview stream. This card is great if we splash Orzhov. Yeah, so... this would be great if we're splashing Orzhov, but I'm being told to remind all of you that that was someone in chat that Amy enjoyed that they said Hamburglar. But yeah, we have an Exposed to Daylight. Again, probably a sideboard card, and especially in a regular pre-release in paper, you're in best of 3. It's best of 1 on Arena. So yeah, this is a sideboard card. Grotesque Demise. This card is fine. It worked against me multiple times, even though I would have thought not to put it in the deck, because if they have bigger creatures that you want to get rid of, that's not as helpful, but it worked against me, so I can't say it's bad. I would play at least 1. Again, that's if we're splashing. But we have something that we don't need to splash with, is Sphinx's Insight. Again, the addendum is not as relevant. Gaining 2 life would be fine. Unless it's like saving you, it's not something that you have to try for. With this one, what you could do is, if you leave up mana to do things like absorb or something to that effect, and then if they don't play anything for you to counter, you can then just play your Sphinx's Insight, draw 2 cards at the end of their turn, and then take your turn. But still an amazing card. Another Clear the Mind. Once again, I don't think we're milling, but there it is. A Growth Spiral. If we're splashing into Simic, this card is cool. I don't see the need to splash into Simic yet. We have a Vindictive Vampire. Once again, if we're splashing into Orzhov, still don't think we have to, although fine uncommon. I like it quite a bit. A Macabre Mockery. Again, Rakdos, probably not for us, but the art on this card is really cool. It's an uncommon. There's a lot going on in the art, but I like it a lot. And a Swirling Torrent. This card is awesome. For us, for really any deck that's playing blue, I love this card quite a bit. So yeah, I would put this in any deck. Like if we get like 3 of them, maybe I wouldn't play all 3 because it is 6 mana, but I would definitely play 2. But yeah, this card is fantastic. And our rare is the End Raise Forerunners. If we're playing Azorius, this is not the card for us. This is a fine card if you're in at least a dual-colored green deck, because you need to be able to hit those 3 green. You need to be able to get to 8 mana as well. And I played a Gruul deck that had this card in it, and I never cast it, no matter how many times it was in my hand, because I never got to 8 mana by the time the game was over, because Gruul wants to be aggressive. So, I mean, that good for me, right? Because I was fast enough to not have the game go until I got to 8 mana, but it sucked because this was a dead card in my hand very often. So if you can ramp to this, like with a Gyre Engineer or something, if you're Simic, then this card is fine. But yeah, like I said, in this particular deck, obviously not. Behind it, we have a Gruul Guildgate, again, so yeah, no, and a human token. So if we play that Watchful Giant, we can use that human token. We have an Azorius pack with Lavinia on the front. Let's see what Lavinia has. Okay. Let's see what Lavinia has for us. We start with a vanilla 2/2 for 2, the Feral Maca. No, not for us. I'm not a big fan of the card to begin with. We have a Coral Commando. If you want vanilla cards, this is one of them. 3 mana, 3/2. I'm not super high on it. If you really need a 23rd or if you really need creatures, we could have this guy, but I'm assuming we will have plenty of creatures in our colors. Bring to Trial. Again, probably a sideboard card at best. If you're playing against an Orzhov or Rakdos deck, you might not even see a creature with a power 4 or greater, and they'll still kill you. So I'm not a huge fan of mainboarding this, because it depends on what kind of a deck you're playing against. Undercity's Embrace. This card was also fine against me, even though I wasn't a huge fan of it, because if you're giving them the option to sacrifice something, I guess I'm just always assuming they'll have like a 1/1 token or a 1/1 that like had an enter the battlefield effect that they don't care if it dies. So it feels bad, but there have been enough opportunities where I had one creature on the field, they played this, and I really didn't want to sacrifice it, but yeah. And the life gain almost never happened against me. Almost never. We have a Stony Strength, aka Artichoke Strength. Again, if we are in green, it's a fine card. Rakdos Roustabout, not for us, but still a fine creature. Rakdos Locket, once again, fine card, not for us. Aramunculus, an interesting reason to think about splashing green, because this card's quite good, but I don't think it is compelling enough for us to automatically do it. Although if we get a Simic Rare in this pack or the next 2 packs or Mythic, it may be something we can consider. Burning Tree Vandal, not for us. Fine card for Gruul. Ill-Gotten Inheritance. If we're splashing Orzhov, maybe, because especially if we're more of a control-y deck, this is an option for us. Again, I still don't see a need to splash, but we will see. And we'll find out when I make the deck. Eyes Everywhere. So 2 interesting enchantments in a row in Ill-Gotten Inheritance and Eyes Everywhere. I don't know how to feel about Eyes Everywhere. Eyes Everywhere, I think, is a sideboard card at best. You board it in against someone who's not blue, but you're also giving them the option to scry one every turn, which is not amazing. Like, you could just play it for yourself and scry one every turn, and then if they play, like, a bomb that you cannot deal with, sure, you can exchange control of Eyes Everywhere, but you're just giving them more opportunities to try and stop their bomb on your field or something like that. So it's kind of tough to evaluate this one for me. I probably wouldn't try it. A Sunder Shaman. darn it. This card's great. I'm sorry that we can't play this. I love this card so much. But yeah, definitely not for us. And a drill bit. Hilarious flavor text on this card, but not for us. And our rare or mythic is... Ooh, okay, well, I mean, we could put it in our deck, but I'm just happier to have it for the value purposes. Here is Hallowed Fountain. It's a shockland. That's fantastic. And as many people have pointed out to me, before I even saw the art, this art is fantastic. It is gorgeous. I love it. So yeah, here is a Hallowed Fountain. Behind it, again, if we're splashing into it, fine idea, but here is a Simic Guildgate and a Spirit token. It's that time. It's a Thopter token. No, it's not. It's a code. If you go onto MTG Arena and you type in this code, you will get access to a free draft. It says it right there. I'll let you pause the video and check that out. And good luck to whoever gets that. Feel free to sound off in the comments if you got that code. We have 2 packs left. Rakdos is on this one. I don't dislike this card as much as some people do. Slimebind. Obviously, whatever you put it on can still block very well, and that is a little confusing sometimes, but if they're attacking in, like if it's a flyer or something, this can work very well to help save you. You have a Knight of Sorrows. Oh, by the way, because this also has flash, you can block something or attack into something, and use this to just save your creature and or make sure that theirs dies. If you put this on something with Death Touch and it brings its power down to 0 or less, your creature won't die to their Death Touch, but hopefully you'll be able to kill them in response. So that's probably where this card does best, instead of putting it on something on the field that's then going to stay there to just block forever. A Knight of Sorrows, also not a terrible card. Obviously, it's got the Orzhov symbol on it because it's got the Afterlife ability, but it is mono white. So you can play a 5-mana 3/3 that will get you more flyers. If we get lucky enough to get cards that care about flyers, or that buff flyers, that would make our 1/1 flyer that we get from this even better. We have a Rubble Belt Recluse, not for us, but fine. Steeple Creeper, also not for us, definitely for Simic. A Noxious Grudian, so here's one of those Death Touch guys I was talking about. If you put Slimebind on him and block, he's going to have a bad time. And again, still not for us. Skitter Eel, despite being Simic, definitely for us. This card is cool. 3/3 that you can make a 5/5 the turn after you play it. You can also do it, don't forget, at instant speed. So you can block or attack and then pump it up afterwards. Or just if they don't block it because they're afraid that you're going to activate it, you don't buff it and you just play something else on your turn if you've attacked. That's always a nice idea. Grasping Thrill, fine to splash. And it's a great card if you do. Burn Bright, not for us, but look at that sick art. I love that. Azorius Knight Arbiter. This card, I was freaking out about this card at pre-release. I mean, we played it, we played against it, and we played with it in our previous stream. But why does this card have Vigilance? Why? If it didn't have Vigilance, this card would still be great. It's a 2/5 that can't be blocked. Why does it have Vigilance? You could just attack with it and just leave it back to block forever. This card's nuts to me. I love this card. I don't understand why it has Vigilance and why it's a common. Also, High Alert says what's up. This can attack as a 5/5 unblockable with High Alert on the field. And you play, I think High Alert is 4. So you play High Alert on 4. I'm trying to look for it here with my other hand. Oh, High Alert is 3. So yeah, you play High Alert on 3, you play this guy on 5. Like, that seems insane to me. Why is this so good? I don't get it. Titanic Brawl, good fight card if we're splashing green. Otherwise not for this deck. Borlak Clan Crusher, Gruul, not for us. Although a fine card, very, very fine card in our first uncommon. Blood Mist Infiltrator, also a great card. You do have to sacrifice creatures, but yeah, I mean, you can get in for 3 every turn, and it's another 3/1 with upside, so interesting choices to make with this card. And Knight of the Last Breath. So again, if we're doing Orzhov, we can have this card. Right now we're just Azorius, so I don't know, but we will keep it in mind if that comes up, because this card is great. And our rare or mythic is a Captive Audience. It is a mythic, but it is Rakdos, which is definitely not for us, but it's a mythic. So we've gotten a Hallowed Fountain and a mythic in here, which is nice. I appreciate that greatly. Behind Captive Audience, an Orzhov Guildgate. So we have a Simic and an Orzhov now, if we want to splash, and a Thopter token. One pack left. It's got Vanifer on the front again. And let's see. Okay. And let's see what she has inside for us. She has a red card, not for us, but still, a Spear Spewer, Thought Collapse. So this is a counterspell that mills. Even if you're not in the mill strategy, this is still a fine counterspell. It's just cancel with another piece of upside because you get to mill them for 3. You have a Concordia Pegasus. I was talking about this card before, so I would have hoped we would have gotten more than just one of these, but it's a 1/3 flyer for 2. Not bad at all. A Plague White. I like this card if we're playing black. I like this card, Territorial Boar. Although, if you don't have creatures with power 4 or greater, it's just a bear. So there's that. Ceruli Caretaker. I do not like this card. I've seen people use it, and they did okay, but it still felt very bad when they would feel like they had to block, but they also had to tap 2 creatures to make up 1 mana. So, yeah, it feels bad. I'm not a fan of this card. Summary Judgment, though, I do enjoy. 3 damage to target tapped creature. You can. I've had this used against me many times when I was attacking, but before damage was dealt. So there is that. Summary Judgment is a fine card. Rubble Reading is not a fine card. The art is cool. We have a Chillbringer. Play every Chillbringer you open, unless it's like more than 3 or 4, because it is 5 mana. But this card's insane. Comes down, taps a creature down, and it's a 3/3 flyer. I love this card very, very much. And I would, like I said, I'd play almost all of them. You probably saw that back there, but here's our first uncommon in Basilica Bellhaunt. Probably not splashable, even if we went into Orzhov. It is double black, but I'd consider it if we went into Orzhov. A Trollbird Guardian, 5 mana, with Adapt, fine card. Essence Capture, counterspell, and put +1/+1 counter on something. This seems great, and it's 2 mana. Like, that seems very, very good, and it's an uncommon. I would play this. I would absolutely play this card. And a Blood Crypt. Wow, 2 Shocklands in 1 kit. Usually that's not what you want to see when you're trying to make a deck, to be fair, but because I'm opening this for funsies, yeah, this is nice. I appreciate it. I mean, we got this Captive Audience as well. Do we go Rakdos? I don't think so. But anyway, here is a Blood Crypt. That is really sweet. Behind the Blood Crypt, a foil common that we can actually play in Prying Eyes. One of these is not bad. It is 6 mana, but it is an instant. You could draw 4, discard 2. It helps fix your draws. It helps fix the cards in your hand. I was going to say it would help you find land, but if you already have 6 to play this, what do you need more land for? But it can help you get rid of land. It can help you dig through land and get to gas. So yeah, this card is very, very cool, and I like it in foil. I mean, the background, the Thopters, and whatever it is that she's holding in her hand there, it looks like a scroll or something. I can't quite tell. Those look nice in foil, and I actually don't hate the fact that she's not in foil because I think it's a good contrast that it shows there between the foiling in the back and her in the forefront there. So there's Prying Eyes, a Simic Guildgate, once again, second one of these if we try to splash, and a Goblin Token. Guys, I will be right back and you will see what deck I make. So here's what we got. For all our talk of splashing, we actually didn't need to. We have ended up, when I looked through everything that was good in our main 2 colors for Azorius, I ended up with about 25 non-land cards, which was problematic. We ended up having to make some cuts. So one of the first things that I cut was this Knight of Sorrows. It's fine, but it is 5 mana, and I thought the Azorius Knight Arbiter, the Humungulus, and the Chillbringer were much better 5-drops. These are just our Hallowed Fountain and an Azorius Guildgate up here, because that was where they fit. So this is the deck. I don't hate it. I think we have a lot of 2-drop creatures, which is nice. Get them down early. We can gain some life or scry. We have 1/3 flyer, 1/4 flyer here, and we can get ourselves into things like the Skitter Eel, the Sphinx, and these 5-drop creatures, which are nice. We have the Swirling Torrent towards the end, which can bounce a creature and put a creature on top of their library, so it like really messes up their tempo. Plus then maybe we can get in for those last couple of points of damage. You'll notice High Alert is not here, which is why we don't have things like the wall, the O4 wall, or the O6 junk troller. I didn't put them in here because it wouldn't have been as helpful. I mean, like I said, you do have like the Azorius Night Arbiter and the Humongulus, so it is a consideration. And in fact, I have 2 questions for you guys, just because I usually do this at the end of the videos. I put in, maybe you can see it over here, 1 Azorius Locket. I did not put in this second one. If I did, what would I cut for that second Azorius Locket? I'll put that over here to remind you. And also, should I have put in High Alert? And if so, you know, probably the O6 Junk Troller would come in, the O4. So what would you guys change out? What do you not like? There is this slime bind over here. I'm not trying to hide it from you. I know, like I said, that that's not everybody's favorite. So if that's your opinion, that I should cut that, let me know. And do I cut it for the Locket, or do we try to do some High Alert, you know, toughness attacking nonsense? We do have like the Resolute Watchdog, the Concordia Pegasus is a 1/3, this is a 1/4, a 2/5, a 2/5. This is a 4/3, so that would be hurt by it slightly. It would lose 1 point in power. But the Sage's Row Savants would attack as 1/1s, not 2/1s. But otherwise, it does help a larger portion of our creature base. So let me know what you think of that. Are all these spells okay? So guys, this has been another edition, another episode, I don't know what to call it, but this has been another video of me opening some pre-release kits from Ravnica Allegiance. So thank you guys so much for watching. Azorius is my guild. I forgot to say that up at the top. So hopefully you enjoy it. Check out some of the other videos on our channel. They will be popping up for all of you to see. From the Geek for All YouTube channel, I have been Joe. And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.